Ciao, jewelry making friends. My name is Joey Balistreri, for those of you who don't know me yet. And today I am back with another project from our January bargain bead box. It was called A Galaxy of Gems. I had to look at the top of my paper again, and I believe this is my 5th project from this box, which is surprising because it was not my normal favorite colors of the berry tones and the pinks and purples, but it was packed with gemstones. It had a higher dollar value than we normally have. And so I have created another lovely little necklace that is probably considered minimalist, maybe. I'm not actually sure. And so I am using in this necklace our little strand of micro faceted gemstones that we got. Now, some of us got labradorite and some of us got moonstone, but they were all labeled labradorite. I believe that mine are moonstone. And in the theme of this box, this little strand of gemstones represented the moon or Pluto or Pluto. So I have no knowledge of astronomy. I really don't. And so I have gotten started here a little bit with mine so that I'll save you some of the repetitive bits of my necklace. But I am also using the little brass magnetic clasp set that came in the box, and I've already borrowed the little star from this end for another project, and I'm going to do a little something different with the moon. They were already attached to these magnetic clasps, but I'm going to do a little something different with that. And then I have only one of these larva kite labradorite round beads, and these represented Mercury, and we had a whole strand of them, like a 7-inch strand. I've cut mine apart because I wanted to go through it. I don't know if I'll be able to show you, but some of these beads had the most amazing flash. It's a beautiful gray bead with a very marbleized look, but I just picked out one that I love that had like a good bit of flash because it's going to be a bit of a feature on this necklace. And then we had this steel knurled oval chain, which is beautiful. It's quite dainty and not a very large scale, but the texture it looks like diamond cutting on both sides, and it actually matched the little stars that were in this box, which I used every single one of. So it was a fabulous, fabulous box. So I am going to tell you a little bit about my design idea. My friends that know me are going to laugh because I know nothing about geometry and I'm terrible at math, and people who know me, they know that. But if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I really love playing with geometry in jewelry, and particularly I love to make bars and then connect them in fun, unusual ways, create odd shapes. So I was mulling this design over in my mind and wanted to do a triangle that has no equal sides. So that is actually called a scalene triangle, but it could also sort of be an obtuse triangle, which is a triangle that has one angle at 90 degrees. So again, my friends are probably laughing at me because they're saying, Joey, you've been on Google again, which is exactly what I did so that I could tell you what my design idea was. And the way I'm going to come up with this scalene triangle, which is that none of the 3 sides that I'm creating, my little bars, will be the same length. And the way I'm deciding the length, I started with the bar that will be the longest. And so that's going to sort of be the size of the pendant. And I counted how many of those little gemstone beads went on it, and I believe I did 18 on my long one. Then my second bar, I went down to 13 gemstones on this one. And then the last one we're going to do, I'll kind of see what maybe 9 or 10 gemstones, like what length it gives me. And I am using, let me reach for my wire. I am using 22 gauge round medium temper German style wire from Beadalon. I love this wire, and I normally really like to make my bars with a little bit thicker wire, like 20 gauge, but these little gemstones are so small they would not go through the 20 gauge, and in fact I had to skip over a few of them even for the 22 gauge. Most of them, as you can see, went on this wire, but I did have a few that were not cooperating. So this part is quite simple. I'm going to do a normal wrapped loop, and the only thing that's really different about it is the scale of the loop. I'm staying really towards the end of my round nose pliers to make this loop, because the beads are so small and the entire scale of this necklace, including the little chain, is quite petite, so I don't want to have large loops. So I'm just going to do a very small wrapped loop the way we normally would. The other thing about any kind of a bar necklace or minimalist style necklace like this, I just always feel they need to be super neat and clean and just as perfect as I can get them. To my eye, when wraps tend to be messy or chunky, it starts to feel more boho and not quite such of a minimalist style. So I always just take a minute to tighten my wraps really close to each other, make sure my loops are straight, make sure that wire is warm and nice and straight, and that I clip away my end of my wire. And just really, I try to go slowly. Creativity is not a race, it's not a competition, so I really try to enjoy the process. And then I am simply going to string on. Like I said, I'll go for about 9 of these little beads at first and then see what length I am getting. And honestly, stringing these beads on is worse than even seed beads. They're quite difficult. I tried several different ways. I tried having them lay on my mat and picking them up on the wire that way. So see, I'm running into one right here that, see, it does not want to go on that wire. So I did have a few of those. I just put them back in the bag, because if I'm doing a stringing project, or even if I want to go down to 24 gauge wire, I can definitely use them. It was just a few. Most of them went on. So I tried like pulling 3 or 4 off of this thread at a time just to expedite this stringing, but they're quite small. So just take your time. See, there's another one that just does not want to go on this 22 gauge wire. But in the end, they will go. I'll find enough to go, I should say. We got a beautiful long strand of this. Really, I mean, I didn't even look. Let me see. If you got the box, then you know, but this box is such an amazing value. Yes, 7-inch strand, the package says. So it is an amazing, amazing value. Honestly, I don't know how Bargain Bead Box does what they do month after month for the monthly price. It's the best subscription box. I mean, I get a few that I've been getting for years, even before I had my YouTube channel. But Bargain Bead Box is really hard to beat. I just don't know how they do it. Also, if you've watched my other videos, you know that I measure with my heart. I make my jewelry with my heart. So this project is not something that I would measure out and lay out in advance of doing it. So it would connect like this. And then I can decide, once I have connected everything, where I want to put the chain. And I honestly think I want to take a couple of these beads off, because I want it to be a really offset triangle. So I think I really like that. So I am going to do another simple loop, quite small and very neat and clean, on this end of the wire, and I want it going in the same direction. So I'm going to do a nice clean 90-degree bend with my bent chain nose pliers. You know, there are a lot of ways to make your wrapped loops, and if you're doing a beaded chain where you have to wrap every loop, you may not want to switch pliers. For me, that is a little bit lazy to use round nose pliers to get the bend in the loop. For me, I tend to take that time to get a nice crisp 90-degree bend before I wrap my loop. And so on these two, it's good if you can get the wire right up next to the bead. You have to be careful because they are gemstones, they are faceted, and they are tiny, but it's really good if you can get it. It strengthens the bar a little bit and stiffens it and keeps everything nice and straight if you are able to get your wrap really close like that. And this is the part where I always have to be super careful and not be too aggressive. I want my ends of my wire to be tucked in really well, but I don't want to damage that bead. And you know, I guess we've all done it where we've broken a bead at this point and had to redo the entire wrap. So my 3 sides of my little scalene triangle are made, and now I am bringing in this tool, and I didn't quite finish because I thought I might share this with you. I want to connect these bars with very tiny jump rings, and I don't normally do jump rings out of 22 gauge wire, but in this case I did. And this is a little set of mandrels that is actually made for making jump rings. It comes in a set of 2, and you have all of these different sizes. I don't always use it for jump rings. I use it for making ear cuffs, and I have another video coming up with Curated Bead Box where I am using this mandrel to make the parts of a heart, the 2 little petals of a heart. What do you call those? The petals of the heart, I guess. But when you need something really tiny and petite and you want them to be perfect, as in this minimalist gemstone necklace, this is a great little tool. So I actually stopped before finishing the jump rings just so that I could share this with you. So I have simply wrapped coiled my 22 gauge wire, the same wire that I've used here, around this little mandrel. And I know you all have probably either made or seen someone make jump rings before. So I'm just going to take one end of it and make a nice clean cut. This is very small wire. It's good to cover it because it will go flying and you don't want any of bits of wire in your eye. But I'm just going to cut a nice straight line all the way back. So I'll have extras here. I will also need to connect the chain, so I may use them for that. I always like to make extras when I'm making jump rings anyway, and I put them in a little bag, a little baggie inside the wire, so I know exactly what gauge. So I keep them in my bag of wire, so I know exactly what gauge they are and what they're made out of, and I don't always have to stop during a project and make more jump rings. So I am simply going to open these tiny little jump rings and connect my 3 bars pretty much the way they are laying on my mat. So this part is always the fun part because you see your work coming together, although this is a fun, quick, and easy project. This project should really not take very long. And of course, as with most designs, mine or other people's, you could take this design idea and make it your own. You could do these bars with any of the gemstone beads in this box. You could do this even with seed beads if you wanted to, although it is a very nice design for featuring gemstones. So, feel free to make this your own if it is a design that you like. Choose a gemstone that you love, a color bead that you love, and you will have your own special piece. These little jump rings are just perfect for this project. they really make this have a nice, clean, finished, beautiful look, and it is truly minimalist. It keeps everything, the scale of everything together. I do love making my own jump rings because all of the wire in the project is all the same color, all, you know, just coordinates beautifully. And I can already see that my little scalene triangle is hanging beautifully. So my idea is to attach my chain to this part right here. Let me see if I have done a good job connecting. Yes, I have. So my idea is to attach my chain to the top of this, and I'm going to do that first, and then let me cut my chain in the middle. Let me get a small little scrap piece of wire and find the middle of my chain. And I'm just going to cut it in half. This is stainless steel chain, and I have used it on another project, and it is quite difficult to cut. So I am using my older cutters, not my good fine jewelry cutters that you just saw me using on the 22 gauge wire. I just keep those on my table to save my good cutters. And I'm done with these, so this can go in my little dish. And so I'm going to, here's also where I need to decide if I want to add another jump ring at the top. And I actually have to, because these links don't open. I just answered my own question. These links don't open, and I did wrapped loops here. So good thing I made extra jump rings because I already need them. That's why when I'm making those coils, I go ahead and make extras. And then you just want to, when you're connecting bars like this, just make sure you haven't twisted pieces so that they're connecting in a way that will make them not hang properly. And the easiest way I find to do that, if I can, is to keep things on my mat and, you know, keep them laying in the position that I want them in. That just helps me not to make mistakes. Saves a little time repairing. Just going to open this one a little bit more and get to the top of that loop and not, see, why doesn't it want to go in? You know why it doesn't want to go in? Because the camera is rolling. That is Murphy's Law. Or you just feel nervous because you're being filmed even though you're filming yourself. I don't know what that is, but it's a thing. Okay, there is this beautiful little scalene triangle. Now all I have to do is add my clasp to the back, but I am not done because I want to create a tiny, sweet little pendant here, and maybe even two pendants. I didn't totally work that out, but I was thinking to use this larvakite drop right here and maybe take this little moon off of here and hang it over here, or it could hang from beneath the larvakite pendant. I'm not sure. Let me take it off of here and decide where I want to use it, or even if I want to use it. The magnet is grabbing my pliers. Oh, see? It's so funny. I love magnetic clasps though, I really do. So do I want to put the little moon hanging here and the larvakite here, or maybe put the little moon from beneath the larvakite? Oh, I like that. That makes me happy right there at the end of the larvakite. So I'm going to take a piece of 20, I think I can get 20 gauge wire. I had a little interruption, but I just got a little length of 20 gauge wire, the same one that I've used for the other things, but in 20 gauge. And I'm going to make a wrapped loop on each end of this larva kite bead. So just the same thing that I've done, and I am going to stay down on this end of my pliers so that my loop is quite small. And I'm not going to do messy wraps on this either. I'm going to do it as neatly as I can just to keep my design elements going in this piece, cohesive, and love my bent chain nose pliers for doing something like that. I can put them right inside the loop and just gently tighten up those coils and make them nice and neat. And now I'm just going to string on my larva kite bead. Look at the flash in that bead. Isn't it gorgeous? I just think it's beautiful. And it's odd because I'm not a lover of gray tones or even of gray sort of gemstones, even as beautiful as they are, but this one is beautiful. And I have to say, I love this gray, this silvery, cloudy gray with the pop of gold. That contrast is stunning. It's just really beautiful. This necklace is going to be a few things: celestial, minimalist, elegant, very chic. I'm really excited about this design. And shorter necklaces are a trend. I've noticed on the runway that really long necklaces are trending as well as really short necklaces. So I'm trying to incorporate a little bit of both at my work table these days. I enjoy the artistry of the fashion runways and what the designers are doing in fashion and what jewelry they put on the runway models. And you know, a lot of it is pure artistry and showmanship and isn't really great for everyday life. It's not things we can wear to the grocery store, but it's really lovely and there's a lot of inspiration there. So I'm going to use this jump ring that came on the little moon and attach it to the bottom of this wrapped bead. Turn it the way that I want it. My cat has a little toy mouse and she's chasing it. If you hear, I don't know if the microphone is picking up the noise, but she's followed me from the other room into the room where my work table is, and she's playing. Oh, that is so beautiful. And I actually, let me see what the orientation of this loop is. So I will need another jump ring, because this jump ring that is connecting the bottom bars of my triangle is going horizontally to my mat. Let's see, let me make sure one more time. Yes, it's going horizontally to the mat. So I need a jump ring that is going to go perpendicular to my mat so that my pendant will hang with the moon facing forward. And I have one more of these little jump rings that we just made, and I think it will work. It's quite small, but I think it will work. So let me pick this up with the moon facing the way that I want it. Actually, it's a two-sided pendant. Is it? Yeah, it's basically two-sided. I kind of consider that side the front. And then I'm just going to connect it right in the middle of where those two bars are connected on that jump ring. These little small jump rings are a little challenging to get a hold of and close, but there again, just go slowly. Oh my goodness, this is the sweetest, loveliest celestial necklace. I am already loving it. And this little clasp is perfect for this chain. And so I'm going to take some jump rings that I had already made out of 20 gauge wire. And so again, it's the same wire that was used here. And that's exactly what I do. I made extras at my last project and put them in this little bag so they are ready to be used. And it's going to be as simple as that. Just connect this clasp onto each side of the chains, and nothing could be easier with magnetic clasps because there's no right or left. And as always, we want a really good closure, full circle, no gaps, always, but especially on a clasp. So the clasp is on. And as I said, these clasps came with a little star on this side and the little moon on this side. And I've used the stars for something else, and I just took the moon off of this one and created a pendant with it. But they're also really lovely as a little accessory on the back of the neck on a closure. But I have done this with mine, and I have to say this was a super quick project, but it was easy. And I think the most very beginner could accomplish this piece. And this is totally beautiful. I'm so excited to wear this. And I will put some pictures up at the end of the video so that you can have a look at the way that it hangs, the way that it will sit around the neck and at the collarbone. And I am so grateful that you guys chose my video to watch today. And I thank you for being with me and spending time on my work table. And I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao, jewelry making friends.